I found a journal under the bed of my hotel room. I was driving across New Mexico to visit with my old college roommate. He had recently graduated medical school, so a few of us from his undergrad years were all meeting up to celebrate. The last time we were all together would have been at least 5 years, so I was looking forward to it. I got a late start heading out, mostly because I wanted to avoid driving into the sun the whole way there, so once it was almost gone, I set out. I figured I would get there early in the morning and sleep until the afternoon. I didn't think it'd be so bad, pulling an all-nighter like I used to in college, but in the years since then, I had grown accustomed to the real adult life. I hate to admit it, but I was dozing off at the wheel. The car jerking to the side woke me up, and I overcorrected, driving off onto the side of the road. As the car jostled about, I heard scraping metal. I stopped there and put the car in park. I decided that it would be best to wait there, get some sleep in my car, and figure out what was wrong in the morning. A knocking on my window woke me up. As soon as I realized what the sound was, I began to panic. There was no way anyone would be out here this late at night. I lay there, motionless, trying to slow my breathing. It must be a cop, I reasoned. I looked up at the window and saw something moving outside. Suddenly, I was blinded by a light, and I heard quiet cursing coming from the other side of the window as the light turned away from me. The next thing I saw was a scruffy-looking old man with a giant beard, his face illuminated from below with a flashlight. "Need some help?" he called to me. Turns out the man was a tow truck driver. He gave me a ride to the town where he lived, bringing my car with me. He told me it looked like when I swerved off the road, I must have damaged the wheel. He promised he would have it fixed the next day. He set me up in the small hotel in town. The driver was able to get me a bed for free for the one night. The room was small, but had a rustic, small-town charm to it. I figured I would do a little reading before I went to bed. As I dug through my bag for my reading glasses, my pen dropped to the floor and rolled under the bed. I got on the floor and felt around for it when my hand touched something. It felt like a book, so I grabbed a hold of it and pulled it out. Sure enough, it was a small leather journal. It looked old and well-worn. I flipped through the pages. Most of them were blank, save for some at the front. As I read, though, they began to feel very uneasy. Here's what they said. 8/15/2017. So, a great start for the road trip. The plan was to meet the guys north of Albuquerque at Pete's place, then all pile into one car for the ride to Los Angeles. Of course, my dumbass didn't put too much thought into that check engine light, so there I was, stuck on the 56 in the middle of nowhere, miles away from anywhere. And to top it off, it was getting close to night and I hadn't seen anyone for a while. I was getting worried. Car wouldn't work, barely had a signal, no one passing by. It was pitch black. I was getting ready to spend the night sleeping in my back seat when, as luck would have it, I saw some headlights coming down the road. I jumped out of my car and waved my flashlight around, hoping he would see it and not run me over. It flashed its high beams at me, and I stepped to the side of the road. It pulled over onto the shoulder ahead of my car, and I ran over to the driver's side. And to add to my luck, it just so happened to be a tow truck with an empty bed. The window rolled down, and I saw that the driver was a heavy-set middle-aged man with a massive beard. "Man, I sure glad to see you," I said to him. "What's the problem, young'un?" he asked me in a deep, rough voice. "Car broke down. Would you be able to lend me a hand?" "Sure, I was just heading back to town for the night. I can give you a lift." He went about hooking my car up while I sat in the passenger seat. Once he was done, he climbed back in and pulled back onto the road. "Didn't think there were any towns near here," I said, breaking the silence. "Oh, well, it ain't too big. Just got around a few hundred or so of us there. Got a small inn, though. You'll have to stay there for the night. Don't have much room at my place. Don't worry none about paying. I'll see that Jimmy gets you a room, and I'll check on your car in the morning." "Thanks so much. That'd be a huge help." I trailed off, realizing I hadn't asked for his name yet. "Frank," he said, taking a massive, calloused hand off the wheel to shake mine. "And no need to thank me. Just doing my job as an upstanding citizen." 8/16/2017. Frank started working on my car this morning. I checked with him after a couple hours, but he told me it would probably take until the next day. I spent the day just walking around the small town. Not a whole lot to see, though, just the stuff you'd expect in such a small community. Post office, general store, doctor's office, barber shop. Whole tour took me no more than an hour tops. Frank invited me over for dinner to make up for the car taking an extra day. His wife, Michelle, was an amazing cook. I hadn't had a meal like that since I moved away from my parents. I stayed for a couple hours after, just chatting and helped clean up. When I got back to the inn, I went to give Pete a call. I couldn't believe I'd gone the entire day without even thinking about it. I must have gotten closer to a cell tower since I had at least a single bar. "Hey Pete, it's me," I said when he answered. "Oh dude, we were getting worried. You were supposed to be here last night. Where are you?" "Yeah, sorry man, car broke down. I'm down on the 56, someplace called..." I realized then that Frank hadn't told me the name of this place. I hadn't even seen any signs either. I actually don't know the name of the place. It wasn't on my GPS. Some tow truck guy gave me a ride. I'm staying at a hotel until he gets my car fixed. I own town, list, me, and..." His end of the line faded off into static and then went silent. I looked down at my phone, the screen read "call ended," and the one bar I had was gone. I rubbed my eyes and tossed my phone on the nightstand. Too tired to stay up trying to call. I'll just call him when I wake up. 8/17. I felt a bit dizzy when I woke up this morning, and a lot later than I would have liked. At some point during the night, my phone must have gotten a signal, since I had a missed call from Pete. I tried calling him back, but the signal was gone again. I'm not too worried. Frank should have the car fixed by now, so I'll be seeing Pete by tonight. Going to head over there now and check. I don't know what the fuck is going on. These middle-of-nowhere assholes must be playing a trick on me. I went downstairs to head over to Frank's, but I'm not even in the same inn anymore. The place looks like something from 200 years ago. Jimmy was in some costume, and they even had some guys dressed as cowboys walking around down there. Those bastards must have drugged me or something and moved me somewhere else. My room's still the same. All my stuff is here. They went all out. I'm going to find Frank and make him give me my car so I can get the hell out of here. Frank wasn't there. His wife wasn't there. His garage wasn't there. My car wasn't fucking there. There was just some old man sitting on the porch of this farmhouse. I asked him where Frank was, and he said he didn't know. I got mad. I shouted at him. He told me he would get the sheriff if I didn't leave. I pushed him back in his chair and stormed off. Nothing in this place is the same. The buildings are different, the streets don't match up, even the inn isn't right. I couldn't see a window where my room should be, but I'm sitting by it right now. Everyone on the street stared at me, whispered about me. They're all acting like they don't know who I am, making me seem like some crazy man on the street. They must think I'm stupid or something, that they don't know about the game they're playing. I'm not going to let them get to me. 8/18. They did it again. They must have moved me in my sleep because I woke up in a different place. This time, they made it look like the early 1940s. They even went as far as to put up recruitment posters everywhere. There's no way this is something some hicks put together on their own to mess with passersby. This had to have been some kind of reality show. Maybe this whole thing was Pete trying to pull a prank on me and get on TV for the reveal. I came downstairs and Jimmy wished me a good morning. I shook my head and walked past him. When I walked out of the inn, there was a middle-aged woman sitting out front crying, calling out for her son. I glared at her and grunted in disgust. She stood up and slapped me before walking off crying. I was in shock that they'd let one of their actors go that far, but I decided to play it cool and go with it. I'd play along until I found a way to turn the tables on them. That would show Pete. One of the stores had a group of people forming around it. I walked over to see what they had set up for me. It was actually pretty cool. It was an old electronics store, and they had a radio playing by the door. The static picked up before giving way to the announcer's voice. "Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States," the announcer said in a hurried and quiet voice. President Roosevelt's voice came through after that. My fellow Americans, Washington's birthday is most appropriate occasion for us to talk with each other about things as they are today and things as we know they shall be in the future. I couldn't believe it. They'd actually gone through the effort to get one of the fireside chats to play through the old radio. My anger softened a bit as the history buff inside me got a bit excited over it. I stayed there and listened to the whole thing, the whole time receiving looks from the people in the crowd. As the group dispersed, I looked down the street and saw something peeking out from the corner of a building. It was too far away to get a good look, but I figured one of the crew had slipped up and let me catch them filming me since it shot around the corner when I started walking over to it. By the time I got there, though, the guy was gone. I looked down the dirt road, but
I'm going to
didn't
try to
see any
walk out of
footprints
town
to
down
follow.
the street. Maybe if I get far enough, they'll come out and end this joke already. 8/19/2017. The last thing I remember is walking out into the desert. I looked behind me and saw the town beginning to disappear, and I wondered when they would come get me. Then I woke up in the room again. I couldn't believe it. I have no idea how they managed it. I began laughing to myself. This is getting to be too much. I'm going to go out and get all this figured out. They can't keep me here legally. I have rights. I think I've made a huge mistake. I don't think this is a reality show. I don't know what's going on at all, really. They're banging out my door, trying to get in. I think the police are on their way to bust the door down. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I need to try to sort out what happened. When I left the hotel, I saw another person watching me from down the street, peeking out from the side of the building like the last guy was. I knew if I could get a hold of them, I would be able to tell them that I wanted out, that I wasn't obligated to participate in any of this. I ran down towards the figure and it ducked behind the wall again, so I sped up, not wanting it to get away. I turned the corner and was in an alleyway. It was completely empty, save for a dumpster, some trash cans, and a giant duck and cover poster on the wall. I walked into the alley shouting for the man to come out. I figured there must be a panel or something so that the crew members could move about unseen, but I couldn't find anything. I kicked the wall in anger and yelled at the pain that took over my foot. Suddenly, from behind me, I heard one of the trash cans fall over. I spun around to see a dark figure roll out onto the ground. It sat there motionless on the ground for a few seconds before it twisted upwards, bones cracking, and it unfurled itself from its contortionist pose. I moved back, feeling the brick of the wall behind me. It turned to face me, its smooth, dark body giving nothing away as it began to move forwards. I heard a scratching from above me, and looking up, I saw another one climbing down the wall towards me. In a moment of panic, I charged forward, shoving the standing one to the ground and ran out of the alley screaming. I ran down the main street and into a crowd of people outside of a television store. I tripped and fell into them, bringing a few down with me. Some began shouting at me. One of the men picked me up and pushed me against the window of the store. I grabbed his hand and tried to get him off me. "Get off me," I screamed at him. "Those freaks are after me. Let me go." I pointed down the empty street, some of the crowd following my finger. The man tightened his grip on my shirt. "Marty, go find an officer." A skinny kid took off down the street, heading in the opposite direction I had come from. I kicked at the man, but he was twice my size. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. Turning on the light, I pointed it in his eyes. He let go of me, trying to cover the light source. I punched him in the face as hard as I could. Most of the crowd crowded around backed off. Some screamed I had a weapon. I sprinted away from them, heading towards the hotel. A few of the braver ones took off after me. And that's where I am now. It's only a matter of time before they manage to get in. I hear the hinges creaking and the wood cracking. I wonder what they'll think when they see what this room looks like. I wonder what they'll do to me. Entry 6. It's been some time. I don't know how long, really. They didn't throw me in jail, but they sent me somewhere to get help. The doctors and nurses were kind to me. They took care of me. And things didn't change. I didn't think I was crazy, but while I was there, things didn't change. I guess maybe it was in my head the whole time. Hysteria from all the negativity in the world that was on the news all day. When I first got there, those things would tap and scratch at my window day and night. I didn't think I was going to be able to take it. I even thought I'd see them moving around as hospital staff for a while at first, but they went away after a few months. I think the doctors helped with that. They helped with a lot of stuff. I mean, even now, reading this with my head all cleared, it just seems all so crazy. I know I didn't write most of this stuff, the real me at least. I know now that it didn't really happen. Thankfully, the doctors were helpful enough to get arrangements sorted for my release, and Jimmy was kind enough to let me stay in the room I had before, free of charge. All I have to do now is make sure I take my pills and work on becoming a better me, an upstanding citizen, just like Dr. Frank told me to be. Best get some rest now. Got a long day of getting my life back together tomorrow. Entry 7. It's all wrong. I can't tell anymore. This morning I woke up, everything seemed fine. I took my medicine and walked out the door for the day. Only the inn wasn't there this time. Everything was just in ruin. I turned around to go back to my room, but that too was destroyed now. Just seconds ago it had been fine. I began to panic. I ran down the street to the hospital hoping that they would be able to help me again. Something was wrong with me again and they could fix it. But when I got there, the hospital was gone as well. I heard some noise coming from the rubble and I ran to it thinking maybe someone was trapped there. I dug up a small box and a voice was speaking through it. It was speaking some language I couldn't understand. I dropped it to the ground and headed back towards the inn. Nothing seemed to be left. The sky was filled with so much dust that the sun was barely able to make it through. I sat in front of the ruined inn and began to breathe slowly. This was just another hallucination. It was bound to happen at some point again. I just wished there was someone here that would be able to help me. As I counted to myself, I heard the sound of stone grinding together and tumbling down. I lifted my head from my hands and looked up. In the ruined building across from me, I saw a hand push out of the debris. I stood up, not being able to see much in the hazy light, and moved forward. As I got closer, I could hear more stone being moved from next to me. I looked over and saw another hand, this one much closer to me. I squinted, wanting to confirm what I saw. The hand that came from the wreckage was smooth and dark. I moved backwards and tripped over myself. All around me, arms were reaching up from the piles, pulling their owners up with them. I got up and took off down the street. I found a small alcove and hid myself inside. I heard the things approaching. I shrunk down and closed my eyes, not wanting to see them again. Once they had passed, I got out of the alcove and ran back towards the inn. I needed my medicine. I needed the comfort of what little I had in this world. I reached the inn and climbed up to what was left of my ruined room. I crawled under the bed and told myself that this was all in my head. None of it was real. I heard dozens of footsteps outside, kicking stones as they moved towards the inn. I forced myself to breathe slowly. I told myself, they found me because they come from my own head. I need to stop writing. I need to fall asleep. They can't get to me when I'm asleep. When I wake up, it'll all be fine. Dr. Frank will be able to help me again in the morning. That was the end of what was written in there. I don't know what happened to the guy that wrote it. It seems like he probably went crazy or something, or it was placed here as a joke by whoever stayed in the room before me. But the more I think about it, the more I begin to question it. Whoever wrote this definitely stayed in the room. All the details are spot on. And the one thing that has me feeling concerned is that man mentioned in the first entry, Frank. He sounds like the same guy that gave me a ride into this town. For now, there's nothing I can really do. I don't have a car, and it's the middle of the night, so it's not like I can get a ride out or anything. So I guess I'll just go to sleep. Tomorrow, I'll head over to the garage where my car is at and check on it. The tow truck driver promised me that if it wasn't done by then, he'd invite me to stay for dinner. But honestly, I think now I'd like to have my car fixed.
Subscribe to my channel for more horror stories.